This is a Katrina for them. This is one of the worst. They say it's the worst job ever done on helping people through the ravages of a hurricane.
They're still doing it. As a matter of fact, he's made it part of his stump speech.
Kamala Harris has left them stranded. This is the worst response to a storm or a catastrophe or a hurricane that we've ever seen, ever. Probably worse than Katrina, and that's hard to beat, right? Worse than Katrina. They didn't do too good a job either, but this is worse.
Fox News is running stories on it, featuring some of the victims of the hurricane, telling their audience that the devastation is directly related to the response from the administration.
The people here are struggling. There's questions about the response here so far. And, I always tell people, I'm not going to disagree with administration when they say FEMA is here. The problem is the residents aren't seeing them right now.
It's always the case. It's often the case. It's all too often the case, Lawrence, these days when it comes to some crisis. You look to your neighbor. Sadly, we can't look to our leaders.
I think that our government can do more. Because we're going to need the help. There's roads gone. It's going to take a lot to rebuild us.
There's so much more that could be done, and giving us $750 if you can even apply for it is ridiculous. And I've only heard of a handful of people getting approved. $750 isn't going to do anything even if you do get approved. Not with the damage we're seeing, not with the hurting that people are going through right now.
Where is the help for Western North Carolina? We can send billions to Ukraine, and we can't help Western North Carolina. We have spent all of this money on all of these people crossing our borders that are open, and now we're telling the people of America, the U.S., that need the money, we can't give you no money. That's our money. We pay it in, we work, and we should receive some benefit from the government with our own money. It's just not right.
So while these folks are trying to figure out what to do now that most of their lives have been destroyed by this hurricane, Trump's surrogates are using their desperation for dishonest political purposes.
I would just tell you at the federal level, this has been a massive failure. And you could just ask the people there on the ground. I have been there. I was in Georgia. I was in Florida. When you talk to the people who are directly affected, they will tell you that this has been an abject failure. FEMA has lost sight of its core mission, I think, in so many cases. And the administration has not shown that they were prepared for this eventuality and this terrible disaster. The thing about hurricanes, Shannon, is that we know that they're coming well in advance. They had more than a week's notice of this, and yet we still have people who have not been served and even rescued.
The Speaker of the House lies so smoothly that right after he claimed that the federal government should have planned ahead, he wasn't even fazed when confronted with a letter he received from Biden asking for Congress to provide the assistance ahead of time that he's now complaining about.
I warned the Congress of this potential shortfall even before Hurricane Helene landed on America's shores. I requested more funding for SBA multiple times over the past several months. And most recently, my administration underscored that request as you prepared a continuing resolution to fund the government. Will you call Congress back before the election? Do you need to?
Look, we'll be back in session immediately after the election. That's 30 days from now. The thing about these hurricanes and disasters of this magnitude is that it takes a while to calculate the actual damages, and the states are going to need some time to do that. Congress will provide. We will help the people in these disaster-prone areas. It's an appropriate role for the federal government, and you'll have bipartisan support for that. And it'll all happen in due time, and we'll get that job done. There shouldn't be any concern about that at all.
Okay, hold on. Mike Johnson went on TV to complain about the federal response to the hurricane by claiming they weren't prepared ahead of time to address the storm because FEMA had lost its way. Then, when confronted with the letter that the president sent to him asking for financial preparedness months ahead of time, Johnson ignored the fact that he didn't do anything about it then and won't reconvene Congress to do anything about it now. The playbook is to force a problem to fester, and when it explodes, blame the people you refuse to work with, and then tell the victims that you still won't do anything about it, all in hopes that they respond this way.
I don't think she's doing enough, and I don't think Biden's doing enough either. I'm sorry, I don't. Because I heard on the radio myself, so it ain't hearsay, Biden said, what storm?
Everybody I talk to, it's pretty much a slap in the face. We're not getting the support from her, from the president, the sitting president. We're just kind of having to suffer through it and figure it out on our own.
I would say to Kamala Harris, this tragedy did not happen in a nice neighborhood downtown Asheville. Step out, get your rain boots on, get your mud boots on, your gloves on, and go out there and walk through what I hiked through for 2.5 miles to get back to Asheville, to get back to my family. You hike it. Then you tell me what it's like. You step it up. You're up your game.
President Trump will do a lot. He's gonna help us.
He's definitely showing up, and he's making it known that he knows what's going on and that he wants to help.
We don't want to hand out. We want to hand up. And that's what Trump's going to do for us. We got to get him back in there.
I guess the Trump campaign and its surrogates that are using Congress as a tool to further his desire for destruction to help his message didn't factor in the many Republican governors that would tell the truth.
So this is a great team effort. Federal government is helping us well. They're embedded with us, and there's no asset out there that we have not already accessed.
I'm incredibly appreciative of the rapid response and the cooperation from the federal team at FEMA.
We submitted requests to basically just utilize the existing federal programs that Americans, have a right to access, and we got approval for what we asked for.
There's a lot of misinformation. In fact, there's some belief and understanding that may be coming from foreign sources just to confuse on the ground what's happening here. There's nothing but commitment to serving the people in this state, and those who spread that kind of misinformation, it's deeply unfortunate that that's happening.
We have been coordinating across all fronts. I have to say, pre-positioning all of the resources ahead of the storm was critical, and we were able to do the exact same thing. We have been, Sean, I have to say, working well with FEMA. They, in fact, were moving very quickly over the last few days for us, and getting these resources has been critically important.
So when it comes to disaster relief efforts, while their constituents are dying or in need, these governors aren't ready to go as far as Trump to politicize it for his gain. Watch how Laura Trump, who was placed in charge of the RNC so that the former president has direct control over all their money, watch her try to reset after seeing a Republican give positive reviews of the response.
Why is he spreading misinformation in a crisis like that? And does that concern you about your fellow North Carolinians and how and whether they could actually get help?
I'm incredibly concerned in North Carolina. I hear every day from people on the ground there, and they are desperate for help. It is a dire situation there. I actually think we don't even know the extent yet of truly how bad it is there. And look, Kamala Harris did come out and say it's $750 per family right now. The idea that we've spent $650 million in fiscal year 24 on the migrant crisis that Kamala Harris was responsible for stopping, and by all accounts, she created by having an open door policy at our southern border,
but
is
Laura,
infuriating.
Laura, let me just stop you right there.
Of this country.
Let me just stop you right there, because I just want to not let this get out there. I want you to listen to what the Republican senator from North Carolina, Tom Tillis, said about the rescue and recovery efforts.
I'm actually impressed with how much attention was paid to a region that wasn't likely to have experienced the impact that they did. For anybody who thinks that any level of government, anybody here, could have been prepared precisely for what we're dealing with here, clearly are clueless. But right now, I'm out here to say that we're doing a good job.
So he and others are saying, please, to the former president and to others, stop spreading misinformation because it's hurting people in North Carolina.
I'm so glad to hear that he feels that way, but it's coming directly from people there. You can go online and you can look at videos of people recording themselves and posting online saying, we need help. No one has come here. We have nothing.
Isn't it clear that the main objective is to connect everything to Harris, regardless of the facts that they keep having to redeflect? And just like J.D. Vance washing his hands of the responsibility over lying about Haitian immigrants in Ohio, she went straight to blaming their supporters for feeding them the lies. They know that the most important points will stick, that it's all the other guy's fault, just because they said so. It leaves them trusting in this one guy who already showed the country the depths of his hurricane relief knowledge and care when he was in the White House.
Great job in helping with Florence. This is a tough hurricane, one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water.